Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. How much of your life is consumed by the noise, the constant chatter, the endless pursuit of more? We live in a world where people are always talking, always doing, always striving. And yet, in this constant commotion, I ask you, how much do we truly understand? How much do we really know? You see, the modern world is a cacophony. It is full of distractions that tell us what we should be, what we should want, what we should think. But here's the truth. Most of what you seek can only be found through silence. Silence is not an absence. It is an invitation. An invitation to listen to the world around you, to the stillness within you, and to the wisdom that only emerges when you step away from the noise. In today's world, it's nearly impossible to escape the constant noise surrounding us. From the digital buzz of notifications to the relentless chatter in our social environments, we are surrounded by a barrage of stimuli that demands our attention. This never-ending stream of information and distraction often leaves us overwhelmed and confused, preventing us from truly understanding the world and ourselves. The noise isn't just external. It seeps into our minds, clouding our ability to think clearly and process what is meaningful. We're told we need to be constantly active, constantly engaging with others, constantly doing something to prove our worth and achieve success. But in this frantic rush, we lose the capacity to truly listen, to truly observe, and to allow our thoughts and emotions to settle. This constant clamor has become the default mode of life, leading us to mistake busyness for productivity and noise for progress. People feel pressured to speak, to act, and to perform in ways that conform to societal expectations. The louder they speak, the more they try to fill every moment with activity, the more they believe they are moving forward. But in reality, the more they push and exert themselves, the more they drown out the very wisdom they seek. The noise crowds out the space where real thought, introspection, and personal understanding can flourish. Without the ability to pause and listen, we're simply reacting to the world around us, rather than responding thoughtfully to it. In contrast, silence offers a rare and valuable opportunity to escape this chaos. It provides a chance to step back and observe, to listen to what is truly important. It's in the quiet moments that we can reflect on our lives, on our experiences, and the mind, freed from the noise, can begin to process what it has absorbed, untangle the clutter, and arrive at clarity. Silence doesn't mean emptiness, it means space. It creates room for growth, for understanding, and for peace. It invites us to step away from the demands of the world and instead turn inward. Only in this silence can we hear the subtle truths and insights that are often drowned out by the noise. In that stillness, the wisdom that we desperately seek has the opportunity to rise to the surface, naturally and effortlessly. Silence is often misunderstood as mere emptiness or a lack of activity, but it is in fact a powerful invitation. It's an invitation to pause, to reflect, and to listen, both to the world around us and to the deeper wisdom within ourselves. In the quiet, we are given the opportunity to step outside the noise of daily life and access a place where true understanding can emerge. When everything around us is chaotic, we may struggle to see the bigger picture or recognize what is important. The constant distractions and demands on our attention cloud our judgment and distort our perception of reality. Silence, on the other hand, provides the clarity we need to step back, reassess, and listen more deeply. What happens in these moments of quiet is profound. The mind, free from the constant bombardment of information, has space to reflect. It's in silence that we can process our experiences, consider our choices, and make sense of the thoughts and emotions that otherwise swirl in a chaotic, distracted state. The world doesn't need to be louder for us to understand it better. We need to become still enough to listen more attentively. Often, the answers we seek don't come from external forces. They emerge from within us when we create the space to hear them. Silence allows us to reconnect with our own intuition and inner wisdom, the part of us that is often drowned out by the rush of daily life. In this way, silence is not an absence of sound, but a powerful force that opens the door to greater understanding. It's the gateway to discovering the things we need to learn, the answers we need to find, and the peace we need to restore balance in our lives. Too often we search for meaning and solutions in the noise, thinking that external activity will bring us closer to what we seek. But the truth is, everything we need is already within us. We simply have to allow ourselves the space to hear it. By embracing silence, we give ourselves the gift of clarity and insight that we might not otherwise have access to. In this stillness, we find not only answers, but also a deeper connection to our own truths. We often live under the assumption that success is the direct result of constant action, doing more, speaking more, pushing harder. The culture we are immersed in tells us that in order to achieve anything, we must be relentlessly active, always busy, and perpetually striving. We're led to believe that if we are not constantly moving, we are falling behind. Yet, this mindset of ceaseless effort often creates an illusion of progress rather than fostering true growth. The more we push ourselves to act, the more we become detached from what really matters. We lose sight of the deeper reasons why we're doing things, and the outcomes we desire can become superficial, disconnected from any real sense of fulfillment or meaning. True wisdom and growth do not come from forcing ourselves into a relentless cycle of doing. The frantic pursuit of success without pause can lead to exhaustion and burnout rather than achievement. In fact, it is often when we stop trying so hard that we are able to see things clearly. When we take a step back, when we quiet the mind and allow ourselves to simply be, that's when true understanding emerges. Silence, then, becomes a powerful tool for recalibrating our approach to life. It allows us to pause and ask ourselves deeper questions. What do I truly want? What is the purpose behind my actions? What is the right direction for me to take? When we're constantly in motion, we rarely give ourselves the time to reflect, to contemplate, or to truly connect with our own inner truths. We're too focused on achieving something externally to listen to what we need internally. True growth comes from listening, from observing, and from allowing the world and our experiences to shape us without the pressure to control every outcome. When we embrace stillness, we allow ourselves the space to be guided by our intuition, to trust that the right path will reveal itself in time. This doesn't mean that action isn't important, but the most meaningful actions come from a place of clarity and understanding, not from a state of chaos or desperation. When we stop chasing after success and instead allow life to unfold in its own time, we find that the things we truly need will come to us naturally. The key is to understand that constant doing is not the same as true progress. By embracing moments of stillness, we allow ourselves the opportunity to grow in ways that no amount of frantic activity could ever bring. In our fast-paced world, we often forget the power of reflection. We are so conditioned to act quickly, to make decisions on the fly, and to move from one task to the next without pausing to process, that we miss out on one of the most important aspects of personal growth: the ability to reflect. Reflection is a vital component of understanding, yet it can only happen when we give ourselves the time and space to slow down and think deeply. In a constant state of motion, the mind is never given the opportunity to catch up, to process, or to absorb what has happened. The noise of the world around us drowns out the internal conversations that could provide clarity and direction. When we take the time to reflect, we are able to process our experiences and truly understand them. It is through this act of reflection that we begin to make sense of the challenges we face, the mistakes we've made, and the lessons we've learned. Without this space, we are prone to repeating our errors, as we never truly understand what led to them in the first place. Reflection allows us to step back from our actions and emotions, to observe them without judgment, and to gain insight into why things unfolded the way they did. It's in this space of introspection that we begin to make sense of our past and learn how to approach the future with greater wisdom. Too often, we rush into decisions without thinking them through, reacting impulsively rather than thoughtfully. Silence provides the opportunity to step away from this reactive state. When we quiet the noise around us, we can more clearly see what's truly important and make choices that are aligned with our values and goals. We begin to understand that the answers to many of our problems are not outside of us, but within us, waiting to be uncovered through reflection. Reflection also helps us to connect more deeply with ourselves. It's easy to get caught up in the demands of others and the expectations of society and in the noise of the world. But when we pause to reflect, we reconnect with our own values, desires, and beliefs. It's in these quiet moments that we come to understand what truly matters to us and gain the insight needed to live with purpose and authenticity. Reflection, then, is not just about looking back. It's about gaining the clarity necessary to move forward with intention and understanding. Embracing silence is not an easy task. It requires discipline and courage to step away from the chaos of daily life and resist the constant pressure to act, speak, or engage. In a world where being busy is often equated with being successful, choosing stillness can feel counterproductive. However, it is this very act of stepping back, of refusing to be swept up in the frenzy, that becomes a powerful tool for personal growth. Silence forces us to relinquish control, to let go of the need to constantly shape our circumstances, and to trust that things will unfold in their own time. This trust is not passive. It is a deliberate choice to believe that by quieting our minds and hearts, we allow the space for clarity and insight to emerge naturally. Discipline in silence means resisting the urge to fill every moment with activity or noise. It requires us to be comfortable with discomfort, to sit with the stillness without immediately seeking to fill it with distractions. This is a skill that takes practice. It's easy to fall into the habit of constantly checking our phones, engaging in social media, or simply filling the air with words and thoughts. But by choosing silence, we create a gap between our impulses and our actions, a space in which we can pause and reflect before responding. This practice helps us to stop reacting impulsively and start responding thoughtfully to what's happening around us. Courage is also a necessary element in embracing silence. It takes courage to stand apart from the noise and the rush, to trust that by stepping back, we are not falling behind. We fear that if we stop and listen, we may miss out on opportunities, that we might lose control or be left behind by the momentum of the world. But in truth, it is through silence that we gain the clarity necessary to make the right decisions. The answers we need to move forward, whether in life, relationships, or work, will not come from frantic activity, but from the stillness that allows us to hear our inner voice, to listen to our intuition, and to trust in the process. By embracing the discipline and courage of silence, we allow ourselves to step away from the noise and create space for growth. In this stillness, we find the wisdom and direction that can guide us toward meaningful success, not through sheer effort and force, but through patience, understanding, and trust. The paradox of silence is that by embracing it, we often find that everything we truly need comes to us naturally. This idea can be difficult to grasp in a world that places so much value on constant effort and action. We are taught to go after what we want, to seize opportunities, and to push forward relentlessly. It seems counterintuitive to suggest that the things we desire will come to us by simply stepping back and allowing them the space to manifest. But this is where the true power of silence lies. When we stop forcing things, when we stop constantly pursuing, we create an environment in which opportunities, clarity, and wisdom can naturally flow into our lives. Silence doesn't mean passivity or inaction. It means creating the mental and emotional space to allow things to unfold without trying to control every outcome. In the quiet moments, we can see more clearly what is truly important and what aligns with our deeper values. We stop chasing superficial goals and start focusing on what really matters. The key is not in running after success or happiness, but in understanding that they are already within our reach, waiting for us to recognize them. When we allow ourselves to be still, we begin to see the paths that were always there, but had been obscured by the noise of our constant striving. The paradox becomes even clearer when we realize that silence allows us to reconnect with our inner wisdom and intuition. The frantic pace of modern life often drowns out these subtle guiding voices. In silence, however, we can tune in and hear what our intuition is trying to tell us. It is not about waiting passively for things to happen, but about being open and receptive to the natural course of events. As we listen, we align ourselves with the flow of life. And in doing so, the right opportunities come our way. When we cease the constant pushing, we start to trust in the natural unfolding of our lives. The right relationships, the right work, and the right circumstances will present themselves. Not because we forced them, but because we allowed them the space to develop. This is the paradox. By staying silent, by stepping back, everything that is meant for us will come to us naturally and effortlessly in its own time.